Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, non-conference finale week is here. We're checking in on an injury report leaving week 2 that featured some interesting names in that category. Also, the Big 12 conference results from the weekend. What? Me worry?
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's episode, we will touch on the weekend that was for the Big 12 conference. Some wild football really across the country in several different instances, but the Big 12 involved in some of that. Also want to talk about a progress report for Texas Tech as we hit the non-conference finale. Some things through 2 weeks, probably feeling pretty good about. Other things still probably very prominent as far as needing to improve within. We'll touch on that in just a moment. Also want to get to a week 3 injury report of sorts as we look back to some of the names that were not available on Saturday and some expected to factor in prominently, rotation or otherwise, moving forward. So we'll touch on some of those guys in just a minute, but want to kick off the conversation with a look at the Associated Press top 25. Texas Tech checking in at number 21 this week, 20 in the coaches poll. Chris, I was sort of interested, not that I'm not consumed by these rankings by any means, but I was sort of interested, given some of the results over the weekend, whether or not Texas Tech might actually slip out of the top 25. But we're promoted this time around, number 21.
Yeah, because the precedent's been set. Hey, you win, you move down. Shame on you for winning by a lot. No good for you. So, yeah, you just didn't. It's being in the poll in some ways, like they're talking about this flawed system. It's kind of like being like in a body of water, and it's all about like your surroundings. Some bodies of water, when you're in them, it's tranquil and peaceful and calm. Others, like you could be, lunch, or are you bleeding? Is it the ocean? Is this storm brewing? And like other times you could be like, this is the most peaceful thing ever. Sure. And all of it is based on your surroundings. Honestly, you can control what you can control. Yes, I know how to swim. I can float. I can hold my breath. I can do all the things, but so much of it is your surroundings. And I think there was enough odd results that allowed you to not only hold steady, but move up a bit. And it appears this collision course that you're on in a couple of weeks is pointing toward a top 25 matchup. And I think that is, this is going to be meaningful. It just is, but it's kind of setting up this way to where it could be 2 top 25 ranked teams in both polls, honestly, when you play Utah in 2 weeks, as long as both teams take care of business this week, and they should.
Yep. Injury report. Curious to hear some thoughts from you regarding some of the names that showed up as unavailable going into Saturday. I think Mo Horn may be the one that got the most attention, somewhat unexpected, I think. But I'm wondering who else maybe stood out to you as far as guys that we're expecting to factor in some way, shape, or form. Yeah,
and I'm not certain that Mo's may not take a bit. We'll just have to. He was down there on the sideline and everything like that, and I think in decent spirits and all that. I just think he's been dealing with something nagging, but yeah, him not. I think it's just not getting better, and so him not playing, not great. But Balfour comes back, and so you've got some depth there. Teron Grant also played and debuted in this one after missing the first week. I think that's important to note. He was It's a former 5-star player that you got from Purdue. He was one of those that we tried to document that you were like, okay, we really don't need it, but can we really turn him down? And so you're like, yeah, let's just add another corner. And this is kind of why you did that. So there's that position. I think there's a couple other guys that I think you'll see here pretty quick and we'll see what the injury report or availability report looks like. I guess I don't know if that's later today, or I guess maybe we get it again on Wednesday night. On the maybe that's the final availability report for the non-conference game. But Marcus Ramon Edwards and Charles Esters should both be back fairly soon, I think. But again, speculation on my part there. But I think those are short term that are imminent, because Esters played in the first game and just missed the second one. And Marcus Ramon Edwards is fascinating to me because I think that, is he a star? Is he a running back? Is he what do we? But I think you're about to find out, like, that he's going to get put somewhere, and it's probably going to be on defense. But I just would never rule out, depending on what it looks like, running back as far as depth goes. You still got the Roy Alexander button to push there at running back too, if you ever need to. But here's the two in-game ones that I wanted to mention, because I think that they maybe kind of slipped under the radar for most. So midway through the second quarter, Howard Sampson had a bit of a knee issue. Yes, that Howard Sampson, all 6'8" of him. And it didn't ever look major, but he came over there and he's standing and talking to the doctors, and he's kind of just having conversations. And you get the ball back and he doesn't go back out there. And I thought, and at this point it was already 38 or 41 or 48-0, whatever it was. And I thought, okay, he's done for the day. And that's, but this was allowing them. They moved Ponton over to left tackle, Zambrano into right tackle. I think Zambrano is pretty clearly earned more opportunity to play. We highlighted this on the radio broadcast as well, and they were going to be intentional there. Well, this wasn't that, but it allowed them to do their thing. And he had already kind of worked in at right tackle before that, but now it necessitated that you were just going to move Ponton over and all that. But what's crazy is Howard did come back in the third, I think, and play to start the half, which surprised me. And again, it's rhythm. It's we're all new here. I haven't played with Will Jados too much before. So it's you got to let guys play football, and then it's like, okay, man, go put them on ice, man. We don't want anything bad to happen. So there's this happy medium you're trying to. So there's that one. I just don't know if we'll see if he's on the injury report or not. But it gave me pause. When I'm seeing my big left tackle investment over there standing on the sideline, and you have the ball on offense and he's not in there, and the rest of the starters are. So I wanted to highlight that. The other one, we've talked a lot about running backs, and, would we see a change in the depth chart, and is it, this and that. Michael Henderson does come out of the game late in the game with what I'm going to guess was a separated shoulder. And the reason I say that is because he was in a lot of pain. You see doctors with their up here, and he's kind of wincing, and then it's like it goes away, and he's sitting over there and all that. And so I'm thinking they popped that bad boy back in there. But it's like Michael Henderson may never take a snap this season, or he might start a Big 12 game that you desperately need to win, right? You just don't. So I'm trying to give some context here to just this position, just because there's a reason that they moved him over. And Adam Hill had largely finished the game, but then you want to get Michael Henderson in and all those things. And I think he may have gotten hurt on a special teams play, or maybe it was an offensive play. Anyway, one of the two. It was late in the midway through the fourth. Michael Henderson, Hollywood.
Offensive
yes.
play. I said 30 seconds before he was in the game. Man, we hadn't called Hollywood's name. I don't think I've seen him as a ball carrier. He goes in, shoulder blows up. Yeah, perfect. Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's right. So, but I think, thankfully, I'm going to guess that's a minor scenario. But it's just some that aren't really paying attention to this team or like clued in on all the big picture of it. That's, like you need running backs right now, because and I only say that just to say, if something were to happen to Jacoby or Cam, in the middle of a game, or they can't play one week, it's like these guys are like, they're in the fire, man. I mean, like they are in it.
Yep.
And again, we know what you're trying to get done here. So I just wanted to mention that. But thankfully, I think we can say, unless we see something different, you came out of this one pretty clean. Like it was blowout, productive, in rhythm, all the stuff, and you came out pretty clean. Like, so knock on wood there. So hopefully that's what we get. And there's no issues that popped up after the game or whatever else.
As we look ahead to this non-conference finale, Chris, against Oregon State, I was curious to see what maybe is standing out to you as far as sort of a team progress report. So I know there are some things we'll touch on that we feel like this has looked really good. And obviously you're not perfect in any way yet. I don't know if you ever will be, but you got to continue to improve in all areas. But I think there are probably some things that are standing out still as kind of focal points of this has really got to be improved or this has really got to be cleaned up. On our reaction episode, we were obviously talking about some straining and short yardage situations for the offensive line in that group. You know, some penalties being a part of some special team experiences through the first 2 weeks as well. What stands out to you now that we have the majority of the non-conference behind us and our final tune-up opportunity in front of us? First, today's episode brought to you by SupplyHouse. And when the whistle blows on a new repair, you can get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. SupplyHouse's real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting any projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Needing parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse has next-day delivery, and that's a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make any process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. And visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use our promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SHCollege5 at SupplyHouse.com for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service at SupplyHouse.com. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app. So before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked on College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. As far as maybe a Red Raider progress report where they're where you're seeing a lot of it, or maybe where you're not seeing enough of it.
Yeah, I'm ready for them to kind of figure out the kicker. You know, that's one thing that I think you're still in the midst of. I think
and maybe you did with a 49-yarder.
Yeah, Stone Harrington. I think that that's one of those that seemingly like counts more than others do, right? I think that is trending Stone Harrington's way, and I think Upton Bellefonte and Ian Hershey as well. I mean, you did right by your team in offering up experience and insurance. So, but the beauty of sports is Stone Harrington didn't care who you brought in here. I will take care of my business. I will improve, and he's done that. So I don't know if we're ready to elect him for the position just yet, but it may be trending that way. We've talked about the short yardage. I'm gonna say like red zone efficiency, just because I think I had this question. I still have this question, and I don't think we've seen anything that would make me not have this question, and it's largely because you've scored plenty of points here, and like we're getting nitpicky, and yes, we're kind of spoiled around here when it comes to offense, but it's all about context, as we often say. And so, can you do it when it really counts, and when you're on the road, and when you get punched in the mouth, and all the things? That's what I'm curious on what that looks like. And again, I would tell you too that Mac and Coach Wood on defense, they've both kept plenty in their back pocket, and they're trying not to necessarily, get into all the bells and whistles of what they could do. Not that when they start to do this, that it'll like, whoa, this is completely different. That's not what I'm saying. Just certain wrinkles, or certain formations, or certain personnel groups, or certain blitz packages in Coach Wood's standpoint. And then and this is kind of one and the same, but Barron's communication and timing with his receivers. I think that is kind of like a sidebar to the red zone stuff. I just watching some of those guys run those slants, and it's like I'm watching Barron like, okay, Brett, and he's just trying to figure out exactly when to pull it. Is that the wrong angle by the receiver? Did the DB make a good play? Because there was the one series on Saturday where they looked like they were trying to force feed Caleb Douglas a touchdown. That's probably not what they were doing, but there was two plays that looked fairly intentional where Barron was almost kind of staring down Caleb Douglas, and that's why I said that, and they both just kind of got blown up. So, yeah, there's some of that. And I don't have too much other issue with like the offense in general, but because we've talked about red zone and short yardage, and you're just talking about timing and everything like that, because they've been plenty productive. Again, it's all about who you're playing, though. Defensively, I got nothing, man. Like, do what you do.
Yeah. And yes, offensively, the question is, will Mac Leftwich's offense ever score less than 60?
I know. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy to talk about like any issue but again, you played a FCS team, you played one of the worst, if not the worst FBS team on paper in the country. And, so because I think Brian Jensen actually said that on the radio broadcast, like, I'm anxious to see what happens with this team when they get punched in the mouth. And it will happen. And again, we talked about it all summer. At some point, you will have to deal with adversity, and you really just haven't had to deal with much of that yet. So,
that's what truly makes a team or doesn't, or bust a team, is the response to adversity. It's going to be there every week. You'll create some for yourself. The other guys will create some for you as well. How do you respond to it all will mostly tell the tale of any team's season.
If you're the Oregon State coach, you just walk over to the TV camera at halftime and drop an F-bomb. That's what you do, and how to deal with adversity.
Low class. What's wrong with these guys? Do you not know this is going out to the nation? Chris, before we get out of here, let's step back for a bigger picture look at the Big 12 Conference and the weekend that was, because, man, it was scattered all over as far as results. First, today's episode brought to you by The Game. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time, sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, say in the 80s or the 90s, what hat do you see yourself wearing? Could it be this slick-looking lid I'm rocking right now from The Game? Yes, that's the correct answer. It would definitely be this one. These aren't just hats. They're the vintage Americana we grew up with, the same style fans wore in the days of our youth. And guess what? They still go for the same price now that they did back then. Just go to thegamecaps.com and use our code LOCKEDON, and you're getting this classic tech cap for only $16.99. Again, that's at thegamecaps.com with our promo code LOCKEDON for this vintage Red Raider lid and a whole lot more for only $16.99 right now at thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or circle retro design and use our code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends only wear the game. Man, it was scattered all over as far as results. You began the day getting a couple of impressive wins, and Iowa State dropping Iowa, and Baylor in double overtime dropping Southern Methodist. You wind up the day, however, before it's all said and done, with some of the most perplexing results as well that anybody had to offer up. Primarily 17-10, Ohio over West Virginia, 24-21, Army over K-State, for the most part, taking care of business elsewhere. Kansas does lose to Missouri by 11, 42-31. But I thought it was an interesting weekend, to say the least, for the Big 12 Conference. I didn't even mention Arizona State on the road, 24-20. They fall out of the top 25 after being number 12 coming into the weekend. And do we need to mention 69-3 for the Ducks over the Cowboys? You hate to see it for the folks in Stillwater, and by hate to see it, I mean I love to see it. Chris, is your Big 12 pride running thin this week?
Like, I think I don't know how the receiver from Mississippi State, who I think is actually a West Texas kid, the one that caught the touchdown pass versus Arizona State, I have no idea how he gets that open in that situation. That's just a blown coverage, or just like this is I don't know. That was wild, and I was sick and tired. I almost couldn't watch that game because that dumb cowbell noise. I mean, it's like, my gosh, man, it was annoying. I mean, they kept showing the Arizona State fans in the crowd, and they had earplugs in and everything like that. And like, I get it. I certainly understand it. I think Kansas State ran 13 offensive plays to like Army's 47 in the second half.
Army. Talking about Army.
Don't schedule the service academies, people. Don't do it. I mean, it's just and this isn't the Army. This is the Army that lost to Tarleton State last week. Yes. This is a bit of a different Army than that won had double-digit wins, I think, last year. There was like a threat to the CFP, and everybody's like, okay, what are we going to do if one of these teams makes it? Like, it screws the calendar up and everything like that.
Hey, by the way, more confirmation. If you lose a game in Dublin, Ireland, your season is toast. Don't even worry about the rest of it. K-State's just the latest victim. Nebraska, I think Northwest. I'm trying to remember over the last couple of years who it's all been, but it doesn't go well after you drop that one in Dublin.
I hope that continues. I mean, you're not going to get me to say otherwise. But I need to see more, even though it's not been great, because the only win that they have is the barely getting past North Dakota, not North Dakota State, but North Dakota, because they do appear to be a mess. But we've kind of seen, it's like Iowa State and Kansas State are kind of the same team, where they just kind of get it all screwed up at the start, and the next thing you know, they're like the scariest team in the country by the end. So I want to wait to see more. And Iowa State here, now they're hot at the start, so this is very out of character for them now. Now, can they sustain it? So we'll see. But it's, I see you have written, why worry, or should we all be upset? Or I just think this is going down exactly like we thought. I just don't see a scenario, and I never saw a scenario where you were getting a second team into the playoffs. I just don't know. You could have won, because I think right now you're 4-6 against other Power 4 leagues in the non-conference. And you mentioned the Oklahoma State game. Thanks for showing up, fellas. I mean, what a joke of a performance that is. Like, Oregon is really good, and going to Outson Stadium is no easy task, but do you care? I mean, I mean, like, what was that all about? That's the kind of stuff that can, remember when Herm Edwards got fired on the field? Like, hey man, we need to talk to you. Hey, can you come over here? What, me? We play to win the game. Well, no, you're not going to play any more games. You're done here. Like that's the kind of deflating, like, lopsided loss that like makes it look like, what did you do all week? And they did have a backup quarterback who threw 2 interceptions. And so, but anyway, that's a bad one, man. That they don't appear to be any better than they were last year.
They're in shambles. They got Gundy's kid on social media.
He was
to everybody.
Like, it was a long, and I think it's gone now. I think he's since.
Oh, really?
I think he's since removed it, but like, too late. Screenshots are available.
Well, it was appropriate, because that's the kind of thing you would expect to see, say, at Mike Gundy's memorial service someday. All of his lifetime achievements, and this may be his memorial service as Oklahoma State's head coach.
He is Oklahoma State football. Well,
that's right.
He is today too,
and I don't think he's lying about that, but that's not winning games in 2025. All the other stuff from decades gone by.
Yeah. So what have you done for me lately, business? Yeah. And I thought, Kansas was up 21-6 on Missouri. that's a rivalry game. And like Arizona State, it's a road loss. Oklahoma State, road loss. Kansas, it was a road loss. We've seen this. We've seen this when you go to Wyoming or you go to NC State and you have these non-conference, defeats, and it's frustrating. But you really can still get it all back. But I would say that with what the Big 12 has been able to control from the narrative, you're better off than the ACC. But there's a pretty clear pecking order on what the Big 10 and SEC have done or are doing right now. And
were you surprised to see Arizona State fall all the way out, 12-0?
Yeah, Mississippi State was 2-10 last year. So, and I think Arizona State was a double-digit favorite there, and they were down. What was it, 17-0?
I think so.
And Sam Leavitt was looked like he didn't know what was going on. I mean, it was just it was a bad. But to their credit, they did. They came all the way back, and I think that they'll be heard from again. And I'm not so sure that Dillingham won't say this is the best thing that could happen to us. We needed to get slapped around. We need to get shoved in the all this and that, because that he's been talking about complacency and all that for 6 to 8 months. And I think he's got, see, I told you, so I think that we'll see. I just hate to make any too many bold statements right now, because we're still very early here. But yeah, there's some signs here of some teams maybe being better than we thought, and some being not anywhere near as good as what we thought.
I think you nailed it in your initial comment. It's going as probably expected. Maybe double-digit road favorite. Losing is not necessarily quote-unquote unexpected, but a variety of results from week to week in the Big 12 Conference, I think we will continue to get both living up to or not living up to potential for whatever team we may be focusing in on. Thankfully, Texas Tech has been spared from that so far. Hopefully that'll be the case again as we look ahead to Oregon State. We're going to be hearing from Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire and a contingency of Red Raider leaders. So we'll have some of those comments and thoughts to digest on our next episode, Chris, as we get ready for the Beavers and the final out-of-conference tune-up. Man, I'm excited to get back to something that resembles at least Power 4 rosters. So we'll see. Yeah,
and you'll hear a lot of talk. We'll talk as we go about Malik Murphy, the quarterback for Oregon State. But boy, they screwed that deal up on Saturday and gave one up to Fresno State at home, and not going well for the old Beavers there up in Corvallis. But to your point, yes, I'm ready to sink my teeth into some of these wins, as opposed to knew what was going to happen. It happened, the end. But now you're starting to get into they're all landmines. And I don't necessarily know if this Saturday is that, but the rest of them, I mean, you could talk me into being nervous on any of the rest of them, because they're either home or away, or you're looking past it, or they've got some really good player here, or whatever. And so we're about to get underway here. So this, like I said, this scrimmage portion of the schedule is basically over with.
Yes, sir. And our tune-up continues, though I feel like we are close to mid-season form here on Locked On Texas Tech. We were practicing all off-season, so no surprise. Chris, appreciate your time as always, man. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you for the next one.
Absolutely. Keep hope alive, people. We'll talk to you next time.
And get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. And, of course, thanks to the Everydayers for always being out there, and the Matador Mob as well. You can hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that crew. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texts sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.